welcome to this session. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to the organizing committee. And I hope that you will enjoy the day. I see this. We have a great day ahead. Let's first and foremost remember to join in supporting the Chicago Public Schools through this charity. Please remember to donate to the charity, and as well remember to say thank you to our sponsors and visit their booth. And remember that there is a raffle after the event. So if you tweet using this Twitter handle, you could win prize. Please do it. And I see actually there is a really great community. Join the community. There is a bunch of contents, a lot of stuff to learn, a lot of stuff going on. So kudos to the Chicago virtual community because they are really doing a great job. Okay, a couple of words about me. So my name is Andrea Martorana Tusa is the family name, and I am from Italy. So I apologize for my horrible accent. Sorry for that. And I'm living in Denmark because I'm working for Pandora. Pandora is a jewelry company, and it's based in Denmark. So I am speaking from my Copenhagen office right now. It means that I am 7 hours ahead. So luckily, after this session, no more calls for today. I can wrap up the day. And I am an MVP for data platform, speaker at many events worldwide, SQL servers, SQL Saturdays, PASS Summit, many community events in the past years. And yeah, around more than 20 years of experience in the world of data, mainly business intelligence. I didn't mention, but in Pandora, I am front-end BI manager. It means basically I'm taking care of our Power BI tenant from administration and governance point of view mainly. I'm not doing reporting, it's pretty unusual. I'm doing administration and governance. That brings me actually to the topic we have today, because in Pandora we had the need to pursue some automation for monitoring and for handling our tenant. We have two premium capacities. We have pro licenses, and we have around 8,000 users worldwide. So you can easily figure out that this setup brings us to having a strong governance actually around our environment, around what's going on, and around we need some control over the tenant. And of course, we cannot do it manually, so we had to start investigating about automation, how to yes, basically to simplify some daily tasks. And we ended up. This is some of our. This is yeah, just one of the tools that we are using. But we ended up with using Power Automate, and we ended up using REST APIs. And so this is why this session, because I like to share to you what we did, how to set up Power Automate for using Power BI REST APIs. So the session is, I spend a few words and a few slides about REST APIs, just to give you the context and about Power Automate, what is needed for setting up a custom connector. And then most of the session is demo. It's maybe it's too early for you because this session is tough. There is some technical content, so feel free any moment to ask questions, raise your hands. You're very welcome, and I hope that you can follow me. If you get lost, please raise your hands and tell me that I'm going too fast, maybe, or that you need me to repeat some concept. APIs, Power BI APIs. What we can do on Power BI APIs, we basically get some endpoints for different options for different activities, user operations, administrations, and it empowers us to perform basically programmatically some operations. For instance, automation, so we can automate manual operations, thinking on a report, data set, or table level. We can embedding dashboards and reports and ties into custom app. This is out of scope. I'm not talking about it. You can perform some auditing. So you can get, for instance, the list of all your gateways, all the workspaces, workspace status type. So if you need to do some cleaning, you want to know the status of your environment, you can do it easily through APIs. You can do reporting, get reporting metrics, querying your tenant, and you can do real-time streaming. Today, I'm focusing on these two areas, automation and administration. I'm not talking at all about real-time streaming or embedding. This is out of scope for me today. Because again, my main focus, as I said, it's governance. Administration of the tenants and governance. How an API is made up. This is the URL, standard URL, and then you have a call. We will see when I show you the APIs that we are using. In this case, we are getting a list of reports from a workspace, for instance. This is a workspace ID. And then from an API, you get as an output a JSON object. So this is the JSON object. And this is telling me the dataset ID, the dataset, the report ID, and the report name. There is an option I will show you. You can test the APIs. So directly from the website, from the REST APIs website, you can test the API. So you can see how it works. So it's nice. I will show you. Okay, so we have the APIs. How for performing some activities on tenant Power BI tenant level. How can we use the APIs? There are different options, as I said. So you can embed, you can call an API, embedding Power BI report in your custom application. There is also a set of PowerShell commandlets, very powerful for performing and calling, invoking. That's the right word. Invoking APIs. So there's a set of PowerShell commandlets. You can perform operations directly from PowerShell if you are more confident on it. And then there is the Power Automate custom connector. I'm focusing on the Power Automate custom connector. It's mainly for time reasons because we cannot cover everything in just 50 minutes. And this is what we are using in Pandora. The Power Automate and the APIs. How it works. In Power Automate, in Azure actually, you have to register a web app. Maybe you already have a web app registered, and you can use the web app ID to be called in Power Automate. It's for authentication reasons. So you then go to Power Automate. You create, is it called custom connector? So it's different from the standard flows you see in Power Automate. It's another area, let's say, and it's a custom connector. It's a different tool, actually. Then you add actions to the connectors. To the connector, I will show you, and then you create a flow. So the steps are that you go to Power Automate, you create this new object called custom connector. The custom connector then can call the APIs. You have to add all the APIs you want in your connector, and then you can create the flow. So difference from standard Power Automate is that in Power Automate you have already the list. You have templates and you have the list of actions and operations that you can perform. Adding a custom connector, you can add actions that are not included in the template list from Power Automate. Hope this is clear. If it's not, please raise a question on it. As I said, we need to register an app in Azure. There is a preliminary step. I'm not performing it because the app is already registered, but if it's not, you have to go into dev.powerbi.com apps, register an Azure web app. You grant some permissions, I show you, and this is the most important step because you get two tokens, basically, an ID, an application ID, an application secret. And you know that in Azure, once you register an app, the application secret is visible only when you are physically registering the app. Afterwards, is no longer available. So please remember to copy and paste your application secret key somewhere. And then you can use the API in your application. It could be either a custom application or a custom connector, as we are going to see now. Okay, so that was the introduction. I don't know if there is any question so far. Okay, so we can go and we can shift to the demo then. Okay, so this is the official documentation for the Power BI REST APIs. Okay, so this is official Microsoft documentation. As you can see here, you have the list of the categories, let's say, that you have for performing activities on your tenant. You can do something on a dataset level. You can do something on groups. Pay note that groups is meaning workspaces. So groups is the old name for workspaces, but on API level, it's still called group, not workspace. So you can do something on workspaces. So you can create a workspace. You can add a user to a workspace. You can delete. Likewise for reports, you can get the list of reports, get reports. So in this case, for instance, I'm getting the list of reports in a group. Reports, get reports in a group. So this API is giving me the list of all the reports that are stored in a workspace. And this is how it works. This is the call for the API, and then you have a parameter. And the parameter is the workspace ID. So what you need to pass to the API is the workspace ID. And then you have a reports, and this is the way you get the list of reports from your workspace. Pay attention to this. Required scope, because this is key. This is crucial because here you can you have to set up the permissions for your web app. And here it's the scope that you need in order to perform this operation. So in this case, in your app, you need either report read write all or report read all. And it means that here under admin, you have a list of activities that you can perform only if you are the admin of the tenant. So if you want, for instance, read the list of all the workspaces that are in your tenant, the full list of workspaces, this is the API, groups, get groups as admin, and it's under admin, as you see, because this is the required scope. The scope is tenant read all, and the user must have administrator rights. So you must be either the Office 365 full tenant administrator or Power BI administrator. In our case, in Pandora, I am the Power BI administrator. I have this role together with some other colleagues. I'm not the only one, but for performing such operations, we need this role, Power BI service administrator. Is it? I hope this is it is clear. So I can perform this. I can run this API. This API is giving me, asking me one parameter. In this case, is the number of the workspaces to be retrieved. But there could also be some other cases. I can filter out, and I can filter out, for instance, on the workspace status. So in this case, it's asking only to get the list of the deleted workspaces. And there are many options. So you can get active workspaces, deleted workspaces, orphaned workspaces, for instance. So workspaces where you have no longer an admin. This is pretty important, as I think you know. So there are, in some cases, you can also have parameters for your API. So go to the API, please read the documentation, and then figure out how to use it. As I told you before, that directly from this website, actually, so from the documentation, you can test the API, how the API works. So I like to go to the gateways, where the gateways are. It's not here, because gateways, for instance, for us is a critical topic. We have many gateways, many users creating gateways, so it's constant monitoring, and it's a constant fight, because we already have enterprise gateways. So the fight is going to people telling you have to use this gateway, not the gateway you downloaded and installed on your own, for instance. So if I go here and I click to try it, this API is giving me a list of gateways for which the user is an admin. So if I go here and I go and say try, it's asking me to sign in. I'm signing in with my account. This is a domain that I use for testing. It's my own personal domain, so it's not Pandora. It's my own personal domain, and I use this domain for testing. In this case, there is no parameter, so I can simply run the test API, and as you can see, response code 200. Okay, fine, succeed. And this is the JSON. I told you that the output is always a JSON object. So this is the JSON. And the JSON is telling me, okay, you have basically one gateway, this one. This gateway is called, this is the name I gave to my gateway, and there are some other info type. I don't know, to be honest, what it is, but there are some other info about the gateway. Where the gateway is installed, all this kind of stuff. So I can, if you want, and so you can check if you have rights for performing this kind of operations. And you can simply test it directly from the website. Okay. That was overview over the APIs, what APIs are, and the list of available APIs. Now let's move on Flow, and let's see how can we can create a custom connector based on our APIs. I told you we need a web app registration. So into Azure app registrations, I already created an app. This one, I'm going to use this app. And the one point that I want to absolutely highlight for you, it's the API permission, because based on the documentation from the APIs, you need permissions. This is my own domain. This is just for testing. There is no sensitive or critical data here, just test the data. So just allow everything, and that's it. But you need, when you create the API, you need to grant permissions to the API, and these are all below the Power BI service area. There is also, as you can see, something related to Microsoft Graph, but it's not. It's out of scope. So you need to grant permissions under Power BI service once you register your app. And it could be a pain because you probably have to struggle against your IT department, because they don't want to give you as many permissions as you need, and blah blah blah. This is something we know. We know how the story works. So I have tenant read all. I have tenant read write all, and I am the admin of my tenant. So I am code over my tenant. I can do whatever I want in my tenant. Okay, then I go to Power Automate. Power Automate, and I go actually in a different section. The section is under data. And under data, there is this entry called custom connectors. So I have to go here because I want to create a custom connector. So I go here, custom connectors. And I start, as you can see, I already have a couple of custom connectors, of course, because I have no time to create all the actions I want. And I need also a backup in case something goes wrong. I can show you how it works. Anyway, so new custom connector, create from blank. Connector at the name, so I am Chicago, for instance, and let's go to, okay. I can add an icon. I guess I have something. Yes, I already had. I saved an image, but it's not mandatory. You can skip it, and you can also define a background color. But let's focus on the important stuff. Pay attention. There are some steps. That is just they are just fields entering some data. Expect you to fill to follow or to know, because there are data to be entered. So I have just a list of the data that I need, and I copy and paste. There's nothing to understand, actually. What I like you to understand is the concept. So the concept is that we are creating a custom connector, and then we will add custom actions for performing operations over our tenant. So if I take my notes, okay, then we have a scheme, it's fine. Host, it's API powerbi.com. Base URL, okay. Next step, you see there are some steps. Let's go to the security step. Okay, authentication, and authentication is OAuth 2.0, and identity provider is Azure Active Directory, because it's the identity management is coming from the web app we registered in the previous step. So here I have to paste the application ID that I get once I created my app, and the client secret. Client secret again cannot be what's wrong. Client secret cannot be accessed again once you created your app. So remember to copy and paste this value. Login URL, it's fine. Tenant ID, it's common. Resource URL, it's this one. So as you can see from these steps, there's nothing to understand. It's just having the right data to input. Scope is blank and redirect. Okay, so let's save. Let's create the connector, and the redirect should be created accordingly. So step 2, and then I'm creating my connector. Let's see if it works. Okay, then I have a connector. I can, okay, and the redirect URL was automatically assigned. It's fine, that's correct. Okay, these are the config steps. Now, actions. This is where I can give my input. This is where I can go to the connector and say, okay, I want you to do this action. And the action I want, let's say it's that I want the list of, what's wrong? What's wrong? Let's go to the admin, and I want the list of workspaces for my tenant, for instance. So groups, get group as an admin. Okay, so this is no groups, get groups. So this one, groups, get groups as an admin. Okay, so this is the API. Let me copy the API, and I go again to my custom connector, click here, add new action. I'm adding a new action, and I have to give a name to the action, get groups as admin. And I don't know why it's asking me the operation ID. I usually keep it the same as the summary. Don't know exactly what does it mean, but this is needed. And then import from sample. So I'm going to say, okay, this operation, as you can see from the documentation, is a get operation. So this operation is a get operation, and this is the URL. No, wrong one, sorry. So I copy and paste the URL. This is the URL. And paste the URL. And then I click import. There is a parameter, so it means that it's adding a parameter here. So I have the operation. I have the API call with a parameter. Let's update the connector. Okay. If we want, we can add another action that could be, for instance, get the list of reports from a group. So get reports in group, this one. Okay, so in this case, I pass as a parameter the group ID, and I get the list of the reports from the group. So let's add another action. It's just because I want to show to you that you can add as many actions as you want for one single connector. So get reports from group. Okay. Again, import from sample. So I need, this is another a get operation. Okay, that's it. So manage my custom connector and then get operation, and this is the URL. Import. Okay, so I have two actions. Let me update the connector because I added the two actions to the connector, so then I need to update my connector. And then I can go and test the connector directly from the config panel. There is this step. It has been added a few months ago. It's in preview. To be honest, I don't know exactly the purpose for this step. I usually skip it because I started using the connector before the introduction of this additional step. It is not required, so I'm just skipping it. And I go to testing. Okay, this is another important point because here I can test my API and the calls to the API. But before that, I need a connection. And sometimes this is, this is giving wrong messages. So let's see. Okay, I need a connection. So I am connected through the API, through the web app to my Azure Active Directory portal. Then let me update again, and we can we have two actions here. Okay, so we have two actions. One action is a list of all the workspaces in my tenant with one parameter. That is the number of workspaces to be retrieved. And the other one, it's read all the reports from a workspace. And the parameter is the workspace ID. Let's run the first. The first one, so I have few workspaces because again, this is just my demo. My demo environment, so I have not that many workspaces. If I say 100, it's more than enough. Test the operation. Okay, status 200, fine. So success, and again we have a JSON object as an output, and the JSON object is giving me the workspace ID. If the workspace is read-only, if the workspace is on a dedicated capacity, of course, it's my tenant. I have no premium capacity. In Pandora, we do have. So in that case, this one would be true. Capacity migration status. Then what type of object is it? Because maybe we can see in a moment. And then the status. Is it active? Is it deleted? Is it orphaned? Is it whatever? And the name of the workspace. And if I scroll down, you see I have all the workspaces in my tenant because I am the admin of the tenant. if you are not the admin of the tenant running not this API, but the group API, you can see the list of all the workspaces you are admin. Okay, so you can run the API, and in such a case, you see only the workspaces that where you are admin. I'm wondering if there is any group here, because okay, yes. So there are some old workspaces here. Yeah, I like to. Exactly. Okay, so we have, as you see, we had. Where is it? Different type of objects, because we have a workspace type. We have a workspace type, and this is the new workspace setup. And then we have a personal group. It's the personal workspace. You know, every time you create an account, then a personal workspace is added to that account. And then I also have some, yeah, this one. So this one is called, it's a group, because it's an old workspace created 3-4 years ago. So it's a different type, and it's in the group, it's under the group category because it's a different workspace type. So you should think about migrating this workspace to the new setup. And this is actually one of the points that we are covering in Pandora, because we had many or some existing groups we are trying to migrate, to upgrade to the new type. Okay. Then I like to test the other one. For testing the other one, I need a workspace ID. So let's say that I go, for instance, in this one, there are some, yes, in this one, I have some objects. So I have some reports. So if I take the workspace ID and I pass the workspace ID as a parameter to the API, let's see. Okay, again, success. And this is my JSON object. And I have a Power BI report named global Power BI events, the report ID, and some other info. So I'm getting the list of all the reports in that specific workspace with some, and I also have the dataset ID and some info. Okay, cool, it works. So now the last step is adding these workspaces. No, sorry, not workspaces. These actions to a real flow, because right now I have no flow yet. I just created the backend. Now I want to create a flow that I can schedule. I can run, I don't know, once a week, once whatever you want, or based on events, you know, the standard Power Automate way for calling flows. So I'm creating a new flow, instant, because I want to trigger instantly the flow. Manually trigger a flow, and then I say, okay, M365 Chicago, get workspaces. Okay, manually trigger a flow, create. I'm adding an input here, and you will see why in a moment. And the input is bar of workspaces. Okay. Okay, then I I add a new step. And when I'm adding a new step, I go to custom. Going to custom, you see the list of my custom connectors. So this is the list of the custom connectors I created in my environment. And if I select the one we just created, I see the list of actions below. Okay? So the actions that I created in the custom connector calling some APIs are listed here. I want to get the list of workspaces for my tenant. And remember, it was asking for a parameter. So the parameter, I'm not inputting the parameter directly here. The parameter is coming from an external or an external input, let's say. So I defined the parameter in the previous step, and it's here. Okay, so the parameter is going to be passed by the previous step. Let's save. Okay, and if I run my flow, this is what happens. It's asking me for a parameter, the maximum number of workspaces, let's say 100, run the flow run, and actually from the history of the flow, I can see the output. The output is, yes, you are reading the list of workspaces in a JSON format. So I can programmatically get this list via a flow by calling this custom connector and the API that I created inside. Of course, there is something that I need, but I have something more that I need in this flow. I will show you some of the flows that are already created, because if I get the list of groups, probably what I also need, is that this one is doing exactly the same stuff. So I'm calling an API, and I'm passing a parameter 500. And then the next step is actually to parse a JSON file, because I got as an output a JSON file. So what I need is to parse this JSON file. And let's see if I have yeah, maybe this one. Let's see if I have a flow for doing it. So I have to save, yes, I have to save this output somewhere. So in this case, I'm creating, oh, there's an issue with the connection, sorry. Yeah, let's go to another one. Let's see this one, if this one works. No, okay, no. I'm showing you in a moment with one of my production flows. Anyway, this is what you need. You need to add a step for parsing the JSON and then saving somewhere. In the real world, we save the output into a SQL Server database. So I have different flows for reading the list of workspaces, for reading the list of users, for reading the list of reports, some other stuff, data sets, some other stuff. And I'm saving the data into a SQL Server. Okay, so I parse the JSON file and then I save into a SQL Server. Sorry, I was looking for some thing that Yeah, this is not exactly the same stuff, but this is how it works. Report, where are you? Okay. Yeah. Okay, no problem. We can take a look on it. So this is one of the dataset. Refresh. Yeah, this one. No. Sorry for that. Okay, let's have a look on it. Yes. So this one is getting an output, this flow, and then you parse the object, the JSON object, and then you save into a SQL Server table. So I have a SQL Server table. So from parsing the JSON, you get an output as called value, and then you save somewhere into your SQL Server. This is exactly what we are doing usually. We are saving in SQL Server so that we can create a data model, and then we can query, or we can use Power BI for reading the data that we have. A couple of other flows that I wanted to show to you, because you can read, let's say, but you can also do something. You can change, you can write to your tenant. So a couple of other flows that are using different APIs are, for instance, adding users to a group. So if I go into a group, I have an API for adding a group user. This one is adding a group user. So I need to pass the group ID as a parameter, and this is a post operation. So in such a case, I need to define a JSON, a body. Where is it? Where is it? Exactly. So there is a request body, because you have to pass three parameters, basically. You have to pass the workspace ID. Where are you? Workspace ID. And then you have to pass the user account and the user access right, because for Workspace you can have 4 different accesses. Could be either admin, member, contributor, or a viewer. So you need to tell to the API, okay, add this person, this user as viewer, for instance. Let's see how it works. It's pretty simple. The point is, again, that you have to define the action in your custom connector using the API. Once is done, you go to your flow, and this is the flow. It's pretty simple, because it's just calling a custom connector with the definition of the action. So I'm running, if I run this flow, yeah, I don't know, I show you before, because I go into this workspace, yeah, this one, for instance. Okay, let's have a look on the accesses. So there is only one person, it's me, my admin account here. So there is only one user in this workspace. Okay, then I need the workspace ID. And I go here and I run the flow. Okay, and then it's asking me for 3 parameters: the workspace ID, the username. Of course, the user must be one who is existing in my domain. imtpro.web.info. This is my test domain, and then the rights viewer. Let's see if I run the flow. Let's see what happens. Done. Okay. Oh, there was an error actually. Seems that no. Okay, sorry. Fine. So let's see if I refresh my page and I go to access. Okay, as you can see, the user was added. to the workspace. So, and I did it through APIs. Another option could be the other way around. I can delete, because I can call an API for deleting. So if I go here and I say remove user, delete user, again, if I run and if I test workspace ID and username. .info. Okay. Okay, the flow ran successfully. So let's see. And the user is no longer into the workspace. So through APIs, I'm handling access to the workspace. And this is exactly what we are doing in Pandora, because we only grant security through groups, not to single accounts. So we have APIs that go through the list of users. If a user is not of a type group, or it's of a type user, we delete it. Okay, we are out of time, so let me switch back to the presentation. Please remember to give a feedback. Remember to go and give us a feedback. If there is any question, I keep the feedback slide open, but if there is any question, I'm very glad to answer. Well, at least I like to have feedback. If you found it interesting, it's something that can match your work needs. What do you think about any experience, any previous experience? Okay, I'm glad to see that at least one someone raised her hand. I don't know how tough is it. If it's a tough topic, I don't know. I like to have a feedback for that as well, because I understand that probably at the beginning it's not so easy to get into the way this feature works. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending. In any case, I hope you found it interesting. And please feel free to contact me if you want to test, if you want to follow up. In this slide, there are my contacts. I'm very happy to follow up on the topic. Thank you, everybody.